test. So, I think the fireside is missing, right? But the sun is outside, and maybe to the regie room, we take the 4 minutes from the previous panel. Good. So, almost to the day 1 year back, we were both opening the conference. I was doing the opening, and you were doing the first keynote. And we took a picture afterwards. We were both smiling. Eventually, a week later, the smile of our faces disappeared, right? Because then the Russian invasion started into Ukraine. And I just wonder, as we speak now again, whether your hopes and plans have been nevertheless realized. And I think that's what we talk most about in our short fireside chat. But maybe let's start with a very simple question. It's the motto of the conference: who is in charge? We have 27 member states. You're responsible for cybersecurity. Actually, who is in charge in the European Commission?
Thank you, Ralf. Good afternoon, everybody. Since we stole 4 minutes from the previous panel, let me start on a more personal note on the date. Today, 16th of February, is the date that I joined the Commission 33 years ago as a junior official. So it's my professional birthday, if you like. And I'm very proud, and I'm sharing with you this pride, that in the history of this institution, I'm the only one who had joined the Commission at the start of the food chain and had reached the College of Commissioners. It's a different Europe back then, in 90, a different Europe, but what is common is our belief that we can only cope if we cope together as Europeans. The second anniversary thing I wanted to start with is that not only a few days later since we met last year, the war, the invasion took place, but let me remind you that our meeting was in the midst of a pandemic. We spoke to a camera. There were no people. And let me say that the fact that across Europe we managed to cope against the pandemic is a big European success story that has not been told enough. But we managed to take our lives back, and we still see what happened in China recently. So now, putting aside the personal starting points, who is in charge? I think in cybersecurity, when we discuss the European perspective, there is not one single player. There is no Cristiano Ronaldo. This is not an issue of a single individual. It's not a one-person job. It's a Mannschaft. It's a Team Europe. Let's call it Team Europe. And Team Europe brings together the institutions, our member states, our agencies, and industry. But there is also another team, which is Team West. And there we also work with NATO, with like-minded allies, with everybody who shares our model of society and our values of freedom. So we are working as a team, and we're building a planetary alignment. We're not constructing a new world by ourselves, but we make sure that all the elements of this alignment are in place.
I like the symbol or the picture of the team, because everybody has to play a role. Even Ronaldo needs other players to score goals, right? And so everybody needs to contribute. That's probably what you want to say. So testing to 1 year back and now, how has Europe proven its resilience and its robustness, its preparedness for cyber?
Well, first of all, I think looking back, we have managed to produce a new regulatory environment, which was missing. Or to be fair, it was not actually missing. It was insufficient to cope with the magnitude and the intensity of the threats we're facing. So we managed in record time for European standards to propose and to have adopted this package of networks information system, the NIS2 directive, and we put it aside on another directive with the protection of our critical entities, resilience, the infrastructure, the protection of our critical entities, because we saw what happened in America with a pipeline. The type of threats normally go together. So that's done now. This new regulatory environment is there, and is not, how should I put it, it's not a heavy one. It's not something that creates undue obligations, but it creates regulatory clarity for everyone to play. So that's good and that's big. The second thing we're doing is that we have now crisis mechanism with cyclone and member states and others that when the red button needs to be pushed, we know whom to call and what to do. And we've done that many times. The third time that worked, the third issue that worked in a year is that during the war, we saw that contrary to the predictions of a total cyber war and an all-out attack by the Russians to Ukraine and to the West, this did not materialize. And this did not materialize because we were ready. Because from day one, we dispatched many good people to Kiev. Not only us, not only Mannschaft Europe, but also Team West. And there were very robust resilience systems put in place that created, if you like, the reluctance of the attacker to go all guns blazing. And this is another European success story that has not been discussed sufficiently. But when the war will be over, I guess there will be many pilgrimages to Kiev to see how this was organized.
Well, we hope that it's over soon, but I think geopolitical tensions don't relax. I think on the contrary, I think we are in a situation where there's a lot of tension. We still feel that something happens in the East, right? In China, in Taiwan. So from your viewpoint, from the learnings last year to now, you say we have been very robust and resilient, and we should talk about that. But are there any learnings and any further things to be prepared for the future as it did not relax over time?
This commission, the von der Leyen Commission, we started our mandate on the 2nd of December 2019. So from that time until now, we only had 4 months of geopolitical calmness until March 2020. Since then, what happened was unprecedented, historic. It was a great acceleration of geopolitical crises and uncertainties. The first pandemic since 1918, then the instrumentalization of migration by authoritarian leaders from Turkey, Belarus, who wanted to weaponize people to attack Europe through migration, the invasion of Ukraine. So we had 4 months of calm waters and almost 4 years of perma-crisis. I think this is the word that it's appropriate. By the way, it has been included in the Harper's Dictionary in Britain as the new word of 2022, a perma-crisis situation. So the fact that we coped is something that makes us stronger than we ourselves believe of ourselves, but also some of our enemies think of us. And I'm not increasing expectations. I'm very pragmatic on that. So cyber is a perfect example where our collective will to build resilience, awareness, preparedness, and response will be measured. And you're asking me what is yet to be done. I would say 2 things. First, move from our regulatory approach and services approach so far to a new territory, which is the territory of products. And that we did with a proposal that we presented for a Cyber Resilience Act. People buy products, they put them in their homes, and we have a duty, and with the Internet of Things and the interconnection of society, we have a duty to society to tell them, look guys, it's safe. At least this is a European duty. So that's an opportunity. The proposal is on the table. I want also to assure industry that is an intelligent proposal. It's good for business, if you like, because regulatory certainty creates also a consumer's interest. So that's one new thing where I see progress. And another one, which is probably to be discussed not in this building, but in the Bayerhof, it's cyber defense. I think, and then we are on camera, so I would not go into much detail, but I think on cyber defense, also drawing from the experience of the war in Ukraine, we should organize appropriate teams of people, not state, also trusted people from the industry, that when we need them, they can be mobilized effectively and act in a solidarity platform that would help us. These are the two things that are yet to be done.
Oh, that's an interesting part, because I run a company, I have a security area, our CISO is also here, and if you take those people away, I can't protect my company. So I think that building up resources and skills is probably needed, but I see your point of that when it comes to the point that we have to act together as a team. But building up resources, teaching, and go to the universities and have enough courses probably is instrumental that we have both enough resources overall. But coming back to the products you mentioned, who is creating the products, under what circumstances? Is it the industry, or is it a combination of institutions and industry? Is there enough investment already from your perspective?
Before going to the products, back to the people. This idea of trusted individuals acting in solidarity is not something that we have in mind by massively depriving your people and mobilizing them for the war. No, we have an idea of these people being good rangers, you know, fighting for the good cause. And the skills element, my head of cabinet discussed it extensively. I'm not mentioning the skills is like stating the obvious. We need more people, but not only in cyber. Everywhere I go, everywhere I travel in the European Union, I get always the same complaint. We need more people, and the people we have are not skilled enough for the challenges of the labor market.
That's probably the core of the problem, I guess, because I think as running a company, of course, I would support that endeavor if we are attacked, that we have to protect ourselves, right? Territorial, but also the company, but also our institutions. But building up the people and the resources, that's probably our joint issue, which we have to work upon. Sorry.
Back to the products. Yeah. It's not Brussels that builds the products. We're very bad at it. We've never built a product. This is not in our line. This is not our core business. Our core business is to make sure that standards, services can be developed by industry in the biggest single market of the world. This is our real strength. We are the biggest and the better regulated single market of the world. So the miracle of the four freedoms now needs to be kept sustained in the new challenges we face. At the time, when I joined the Commission, was the freedom of capitals, people, services, and products. Now is how standards would be developed in a way that would allow industry to market, produce, innovate, but at the same time, give an assurance to consumers, and we also have many, we have 450 million consumers, that in this new era, where their lives, their daily lives, from their fridge to their clothes, to their cameras, to their iPhones, will all be interconnected. Being European means being safe. And this is the Cyber Resilience Act. It is not something that we will decide. We decide democratically by the European Parliament and the member states. The proposal we presented a few months ago, I would strongly advise that we start discussing on how best to do this.
Yeah, I like the approach, but Europe as the single biggest market is a little complicated sometimes for a company, dealing with all the different legislations. But here are some numbers. The United States spends on innovation and technology every single year, it's a new record high in 2022, like approximately $680 billion. If you take China, Japan, Korea, and Southeast Asia, over $1,000 billion. Europe comes to 530. So that means Europe is doing 20% of the global spend in technology innovation. That means we have money. But from my perspective, we don't spend enough money on technology and cyber technologies. So from your perspective, from the EU Commission, what can we do to make it more attractive that companies spend more money on this? Because the money is not the core issue, but how do we make this market attractive?
Well, one of the...
Sorry for the question.
That's a mega question, as they say in California. First of all, I think you're right. We have money for innovation in Europe, for research. It is not within my remit of responsibilities. This is my colleague, Vice President Vestager and Maria Gabriel, the Commissioner for Research, who are managing this budget. You are right that this is big money, but it is a cake that many people chase. I mean, if we're discussing cyber now, if we were on a pharma or in a food context, then people would tell you the future is innovation in agriculture and in the food sector. If we were on a health context, people would tell you the future for this money is only genomics, life science. So there is a need to balance. In cyber, I think we cannot match with Brussels money or EU money the needs of industry, but we can act as a catalyst. We can act as a spark, if you like. And then we need something between Brussels and the business community, which is innovators. Not all innovators are with the industry. Some are trying to work with startups, many are in academia, so we need also to find this missing link that would help mobilize startuppers, deep tech innovators, academics who are very comfortable with learning processes, but not necessarily with industrial components. All this is to be done, I agree.
Now, looking at the watch, because we still has to be, there's red cards here, right? Because if you get the red card, music is playing. But if you have, let's say, a wish free for the next 12 months, what are your specific objectives for the next 12 months to be achieved? Or if you sit here again, what would you say what was really good within this year?
Well, I'm hoping, and this is half joke, half true, for 12 boring months. After everything we went through, I think we all merit some calmness. I'm not sure we'll get it, but still. For me, one of my key priorities in my portfolio responsibilities is to build this, we call it the EU Security Union. It's a house with a single roof, underneath of which we are building the individual chambers of security. Fight against terrorism, organized crime, corruption, child abuse, cybersecurity, critical infrastructure. We need to do this under one single roof, because what Europeans expect from us is not policy responses that are driven merely by segmented interests. They want security. Macron gave this famous speech in Sorbonne in 2017, and he said, I want to be very short. The only thing I expect from Europe is une Europe qui protège, a Europe that protects. People need to see Europe as a shield. And this is what I want to achieve, to build this security union house as a shield in a way that all chambers communicate, and of course, one of the big chambers, if not the living room, would be cybersecurity.
Yeah, Vice President, thank you very much. Our time somehow is over, but if I would summarize the key points from our talk here is that we are a team in Europe, and if I combine it with the numbers I mentioned, then there is the only way to act as a team, because otherwise we lose a lot of resources, and power if we not utilize that skill. Everyone individually maybe is far too small. And I think that's something we should inhale as being Europeans here. The second thing I take is, well, the industry should move because it's a very big market, and I agree, it's a big market, right? Sometimes it's a little complicated, and team play is not always easy, but team play is, practically speaking, our only option. Therefore, give the Vice President, please, a big hand. Thank you.